One of the values, if not the value, of the digital experience platform that you get from Liferay is support. You basically subscribe to new versions of the software to support, and you are able to just file your problems with Liferay's support team. Your problems get fixed, embedded into the next version and into the next fix packs and service packs. I'll cover backup separately. For the fix packs, we have certain levels of fixes. First of all, they are the hot fixes. You have a problem in production that needs to be fixed right now because your production is, well, not running appropriately. You'll get a hot fix package which fixes exactly your one problem. Now, these hot fixes are always then enrolled into the next available fix pack. Fix pack is delivered to every single customer, or every single customer can download it from our customer portal, and this is where they end up. Security fixes, well, we'll make them available generally, but let's put them to the end. The fix packs then are basically the versions that you should be on. If you have an early hotfix and then a later fix pack, most likely your hotfix is in that fix pack. There is some overlap of a few days or weeks. If you get the hotfix immediately before the fix pack is released, then it might be 1 or 2 fix packs after. And otherwise, everything is typically just cumulative and contains everything. From time to time, one of the fix packs is labeled service pack, and that is just a particular arbitrary fix pack. You can download Liferay either in GA1 version or in any service pack version. So service pack 1, service pack 2, service pack 3. Each service pack corresponds with a particular fix pack version. So it could be service pack 1 is fix pack 3. I'm making this up, by the way. So for 7.1, I don't know where there is the mapping between the two. I'm just making one up. But a fix pack is nothing else but a service pack. The other way around, a service pack is nothing else but a fix pack that is promoted to be a service pack. That means you can download Liferay Service Pack 1 and just run it and be up to date up until then. Security fixes, we'll distribute them separately so that you can install them easily onto your system. How do you install a fix pack or a service pack? You can download the service packs separately. Remember, they are only fix packs. We have a patching tool, which is really easy to install, and we have an exercise for you which makes you familiar with the patching tool. It's just a little shell script, little Java program that inspects all of your code, inspects all of the patches. It will identify changes that are incompatible with the patching tool with the patches, which means you basically can't really break your Liferay installation. Of course, you shouldn't patch it yourself, because then you might just get into conflict. And you might get into conflict when you run your own ext plugin, which changes Liferay's implementation. Naturally, we cannot know what you are changing within Liferay's core, so you will need to update that on your own. For the patching tool, I'll just go through all of these bullet points. The patching tool is just built for continuous upgrade, for auto detection of the working environment. In other words, you can point it to your application server and it will figure out quite a lot by itself. You can install or revert fix packs. You can go back, even without me telling you to just push back your backup or use your backup to restore. It will show occasional fix packs or patch collisions. This occasional is typically when you have something patched by yourself, when you have an ext installed by yourself, or when you did anything else to your system, or when you're installing a hotfix that is not compatible to your current fix pack. And we have 2 levels of patching: the binary patching, which just patches your runtime environment, or the source level patching, because with DXP you get the source code, and if you want to see what's going on in your portal, you can get the source patching as well. You just need to point patching tool to the source tree that you have downloaded separately, and it will also happily update your sources. That's as easy as it is, and we have provided a little exercise for you with a tiny fix pack that you can do now, which is run patching tool, follow the instructions in the exercises, explore your system, then run patching tool on there, and then you will package a new bundle that you can then embed in a new Docker file, Docker image. Fortunately or unfortunately, a very simple chapter here, or part of the chapter. If I'm not mistaken, these are 5 slides, and 2 of them are the summary even, which is restoring from a backup. I remember that in an earlier chapter I have stated what a backup is, as long as you're talking to me. It's something that you recently verified can be restored. So I'm really strict on that because I've been witness of 2 of these occasions failing hard. Like the backup, separate hard disk sitting right next to the server, where I've said, well, have any event, theft, fire, water, damage, thunderstorm, whatever, and both will be toast. In that case, we didn't have any of these events, but we had the other. We had a catastrophic server failure, and the hard disk that contained the backup was full 3 months ago. So not recently tested that you can use it to, or not recently demonstrated that you can use it to restore. In fact, not even monitored. So yes, I've seen that so far for the horror stories. Speaking of which, well, I know we're in backup, but I can share another horror story, because what do you do in order to omit all of those failures to have highly available hardware? What do? Let's go for the hard drives. You install a RAID. 6 disks, great. I was blank on the level, but 2 of them can fail anytime. Great. What do you expect happens? Let's say 1 fails. Nobody notices. 2 fail. Nobody notices. No monitoring. There we are again at your network monitoring, IT structure monitoring, previous chapter. So yes, this is an overflow into the backup chapter. 3rd drive fails. Headless chicken everywhere. Restoring from a backup. So what do you do to back up Liferay? Number 1, as we say here, hot backups, essentially live running backups of the Liferay instance, where you can just switch over. Just say make a database switch, make a server switch. They are replicating while they're running, and you can just keep the system running on a different server. That's what I rarely see being implemented, but it's a possibility to have fully replicated servers. What I rather see implemented in this case is just a cluster. The cluster continues to run, and that's it. There's not one system failing over to the other system. There's just several systems running and parts of these cluster failing. That's what I'm seeing, but that's my personal experience. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing. If somebody actually sees a hot backup site that can take over, that's not just part of a regular cluster. There's warm backups where you have the systems ready and patched the same way as you have your Liferay patched, your production system patched, and you just need to restore the database. Well, just need to restore the database. That is what we're discussing on the next slide, because it's not just the database that you need for Liferay. And cold backups is basically, you need to restore everything from somewhere and then spin it up. If you ask me, in times of Docker and in terms of virtual machines, there's not much of a difference between warm backup and cold backup, because it's typically all automated anyways. Where do you get your database? Where do you get your volumes from there? If you have them running or if you just spin them up, it does make a lot of a difference. So yes, there is still a difference, but I don't see that much of a difference anymore. When you need to commission servers, new servers, then yes, you have a very cold backup, freezing backup. When you can just start them up because they're there, it's kind of cold. But in cloud times and Docker times, not so much. Now, when I told you you'll need to just restore the database, I told you that's actually a little bit of understatement. So what you should have, and this is all what I can refer to as you have recently demonstrated that you can restore. We always start with the source code to your own additions. You can download Liferay source code again, that's no problem, but your own components, you should have the source code ready and available for you. Of course, there's version control, but the example that I stated with the disk sitting next to the server overflown 3 months ago, that was actually a backup for Subversion back then. It's a while ago, so that was the version control backup which failed, violating exactly point number 1. And I didn't even bring point number 1 in here, that was somebody else. So there is common experience with source code getting lost, and it's just not necessary. Your database, Liferay's database, we've configured MySQL for the cluster and for your Tomcat 1. We've configured HSQL, which is not good for production, for your Wildfly server in this course. So you want to be able to restore your database. Remember my earlier statement, what is the system that you should have? Should you run MySQL? Should you run Oracle? Should you run DB2, SQL Server? What's my recommendation? Run the tool that you have experience with. If you have no clue how to restore an Oracle database, there's no use in running an Oracle database. If you have no clue how to run an SQL Server database, in disaster times, you don't want to learn it then. Stack Overflow won't be available during your disaster. It's not Stack Overflow, it's server fault then. But the Stack Exchange network won't help you when you have a disaster and everybody is running around, crying, shouting, and giving commands. The default data, well, I don't know if you want to restore the default data, but all of the data that you need, you will need the, it's down there, the file repository, the document database, the document library storage, if that's on the file system. If it's on the database, then you're lucky because you just need to restore the database. Now, that brings me back into one of the statements that I made earlier. If you have the file repository or the document library within your database, you can have a transaction log database, basically a rolling transaction log, and go back to any particular point in time instead of restoring yesterday's version from your full backup. So that's an advantage. On the other hand, it will be quite large. So again, you judge what you need. Your configuration files. In times of Docker, again, very easy. Which configuration files did you touch? I don't need to ask you that because you would just look in your Docker file and your Docker Compose and you will see all of the configuration files that you touched. When you maintain your systems outside of Docker, it's very easy to just open an editor and make a setting, like change something, save it, and you forget to document what you have changed. The next time you do a disaster recovery of your system, you're toast because you forgot to make a specific setting and it's not working. Again, a backup is only what you recently have demonstrated to be able to use to restore. All the applications and modules that you have installed, be it downloaded from Liferay's marketplace, received from a third-party contractor, from your freelancer developer who has provided you with an integration for yourself, this is what you need to do, need to restore. And last but not least, search indexes. Do you need search indexes or not? We actually have, going back to Liferay's history a long time ago when Liferay's cluster was a little bit smaller, but still very much exercised. We were using an old variant of the cluster which required re-indexing the search index on every single startup. This goes a few years back. Back when we had Lucene as the local image, as the local search index, and we accepted running a re-index on every single startup. because it just added, 5 minutes, even though we had a big message board and lots of content on there. It added 5 minutes to the startup time, but it was worth it because we said, yeah, there's enough machines and we can easily stand these 5 minutes of extra startup time for a single machine. And every machine had its own search index. That was well accepted. We also have customers, had then and have customers, if we deliver a fix and we say, hey, please install this fix pack and then re-index your search index, they would come back to us, grab us by the neck, or just go, I guess this is international, right? Like, are you nuts? We don't have 2 days of time to re-index our search indexes. If you're on the side that you don't care if you lose 5 minutes in restoring because your search indexes get re-indexed, don't bother about the search index. Just start with a fresh one, hit re-index once manually, wait 5 minutes, and you're good to go. If it takes 2 days or anywhere in between, then the answer is, well, with 2 days, it's save your search indexes. With anything in between, the answer is it depends. Your choice if you index, if you store them, if you restore them or not. And that all, by the way, should be happening at about the same time. When you restore the database, restore the Liferay configuration, including all applications, of course. You will restore the documents, the file storage, if you're using the file storage. This is missing to restore the search index, but in general, this is what you do. With Docker, this feels trivial. I can't help myself. Like in previous versions of this course, when we didn't use Docker, it was so much to explain. And right now, I would say, look at your Docker files, see what we do there, see what we copy, what we configure, what we access, and you have it black on white, green on black, whatever your configuration is. You have all of the settings that you need, all of the systems that you connect to, and you will know what you will need to restore. It's kind of a letdown because I can just point you to the Docker file and you will immediately see what's up. You don't need me anymore, which is great because then I can go sightseeing because we're at the end of the chapter. Liferay generally provides, when you have a service contact, we generally provide hotfixes that install improvement and bug fixes in your Liferay installation. To deliver a hotfix, we will ask you which version you are running, which exact version you are running with fix packs and other hotfixes on there. Security fixes are important fixes that are vital to your system integrity. They should always be installed. And fix packs, collections of hotfixes and security fixes used to bring an instance up to date very quickly. And then we have 2 basic mechanisms, of which we have discussed one, to install or to deliver and install patches. One of them is Liferay Connected Service, which is a service-based offer that we have where you can connect your servers to our instance that will alarm you that you are not up to date. It will give you some information about your current setup, about the load, about attention that your servers need. It's a very simple monitoring tool, so it's not replacing all of the full-blown APMs, but it gives you some basic overview over your installation. And of course, then there's the patching tool, which you have seen in your exercise, that you can just use to quickly get up to date with all of the fix packs, service packs, and hotfixes.